The Craxi Observer Commander, first singer of victory, stood motionless on his crystalline command deck, multiple appendages twitching with barely contained satisfaction. Through the vast observation window of his flagship, he watched the human defenders of New Eden scatter like primitives before a superior force. Their retreat had begun exactly as predicted, disorganized, desperate, and delightfully vulnerable. His warrior-cased subordinates chittered amongst themselves, analyzing tactical data streams that poured through their neural interfaces. The humans were abandoning defensive positions across the colony's perimeter, leaving behind what appeared to be hastily constructed fortifications and outdated weapon systems. It was almost insulting how primitive their defenses looked compared to Craxi military technology. Most exalted First Singer, the tactical coordinator's thoughts resonated through their shared battle link. Human forces are withdrawing from all major strategic positions. Their comm traffic suggests widespread panic. First Singer of Victory's central eye membrane rippled in what his species considered a smile. Humans had earned quite a reputation among the galactic community. Adaptable, cunning, and surprisingly resilient for such a young species. But faced with the full might of a Craxi invasion fleet, they were proving to be disappointingly ordinary. Below, in New Eden's sprawling industrial sector, columns of human soldiers hurried through the streets. Their powered armor looked clunky and inefficient compared to the sleek biomechanical suits worn by Craxi warriors. Supply vehicles rumbled behind them, loaded with what appeared to be basic projectile weapons and simple electronic warfare equipment. Their military capability was greatly exaggerated. The fleet coordinator transmitted, their thoughts tinged with disdain. These humans rely on primitive kinetic weapons and basic energy shields. The Council of Hierarchs will be disappointed. They expected more resistance. First Singer of Victory activated his ship's long-range scanners, conducting another sweep of the colony. New Eden was humanity's furthest outpost, a proud symbol of their expansion into space. Taking it would deal a devastating blow to human morale and establish Craxi dominance in this sector. Begin landing operations, he commanded. Secure their abandoned positions and establish forward bases. Let the humans flee. We will hunt them down at our leisure. Dropships began descending through the atmosphere, their crystalline hulls refracting sunlight in dazzling patterns. Warrior-caste troops waited eagerly in their deployment chambers, wanting nothing more than to prove themselves against these supposedly formidable humans. As First Singer of Victory watched his forces deploy, a subtle anomaly caught his attention. The retreating humans seemed to be following specific patterns, almost as if he dismissed the thought immediately. Their species was far too primitive to attempt anything truly sophisticated. This would be a glorious victory for the Craxi Empire, quick and decisive. Most Exalted One, his tactical coordinator interrupted, should we not be concerned about potential human reinforcements? Their nearest fleet is 3 systems away. First Singer of Victory responded confidently. By the time they arrive, New Eden will be ours. The humans clearly lack the technology or strategic thinking to challenge us. Their retreat proves it. As dropships touched down on the colony's surface, none of the Craxi noticed the strange, almost imperceptible shimmer in the air around their landing zones. Victory seemed assured, and First Singer of Victory was already composing the songs of triumph he would perform for the Council of Hierarchs. Deep beneath New Eden's industrial sector, Lieutenant Sarah Chen watched the tactical hologram with unwavering focus. The massive underground command center hummed with activity as technicians monitored the Craxi invasion force's every move. Each alien dropship that landed sent ripples of data across the display, exactly as predicted. All evacuation teams report ready. Lieutenant, her XO, Marcus Rodriguez, announced from his station. The last civilians are secure in the deep shelters, and our surface forces have completed their withdrawal. The enemy bought it completely. Sarah nodded, her expression grim. The plan had taken months of preparation, countless hours of intelligence analysis, and more than a few sleepless nights wondering if she was leading her people to disaster. The Kraxai had never been defeated in direct combat. Their biomechanical technology and crystalline-based weapons were simply too advanced. "Status on the nanoswarms?" she asked, eyes fixed on the hologram's representation of Kraxai landing zones. "Dispersal systems are functioning at optimal levels," Dr. Emily Wong reported from the science station. The physicists have been crucial in developing their counter-strategy. The atmosphere around their positions is already saturated. They haven't detected a thing. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The Kraxai's greatest weakness was their absolute confidence in their technological superiority. They never bothered to scan for threats they considered beneath them, like the microscopic machines now clinging to their pristine armor and crystalline weapons. "Surface teams reporting in," Rodriguez announced. "The abandoned fortifications are recording multiple Kraxai units moving into position. They're treating our defenses like a joke, just as expected." Across the command center, dozens of screens showed Kraxai warriors examining human defensive positions with obvious disdain. Their crystalline armor gleamed as they kicked aside sandbags and powered down turrets, completely unaware that each structure was packed with dormant nanofabricators. "Lieutenant," a young communications officer called out, "we're picking up Kraxai battle chatter. Their commander is already composing victory songs. They think we're running scared." Sarah walked to the central platform, where a detailed model of New Eden's underground network filled the air. Hundreds of blue dots represented her troops, positioned strategically in bunkers and tunnels throughout the colony. The red mass above them showed the Kraxai forces spreading out exactly as their tactical simulations had predicted. "Time to Phase 2, Rodriguez asked, his hand hovering over the command console. "Not yet," Sarah replied, studying the enemy movements. "We need them to commit fully. The Kraxai don't just need to take the bait. They need to swallow it whole." Dr. Wong approached, tablet in hand. "The nanotech dispersal is at 70% of optimal coverage. Another 20 minutes, and we'll have their entire force compromised." Sarah nodded, remembering the countless war games and simulations that had led to this strategy. Traditional human military doctrine called for meeting the Kraxai head-on with their best technology. But Sarah had proposed something different, appearing weak and primitive while preparing an intricate trap. "Launch the next wave of retreating troops," she ordered. "Make it look messy. Scared. Let them think they've got us running for our lives." As her officers relayed the commands, Sarah watched another group of human soldiers emerge from concealed positions to flee through the streets. Their apparent panic was a masterwork of military theatrics, drawing the Kraxai deeper into New Eden's web. "They're advancing faster now," Rodriguez reported. "Their commander is ordering them to secure the entire industrial sector before we can regroup." Sarah's hand tightened on the command rail. Everything hinged on timing now. Too soon, and the Kraxai might realize the trap before it was fully set. Too late, and they might bring in reinforcements that could overwhelm even their carefully laid plans. "Now we wait," she said softly, watching the red dots push deeper into their trap. "And we pray that arrogance really is their greatest weakness." First Singer of Victory personally led his elite guard through New Eden's abandoned streets. Their crystalline armor caught the dying sunlight, casting prismatic patterns across the colony's industrial architecture. Every few steps, his warriors paused to scan for threats, though their postures suggested they considered it a mere formality. Most Exalted One, his second-in-command transmitted through their battle link. "Preliminary sweeps show no sign of serious resistance. The humans have left behind only basic defenses and outdated technology." The Kraxai commander extended his sensory appendages, tasting the air. Something about this seemed off. His species had conquered 12 star systems, yet never had their opponents yielded territory so easily. The humans' reputation for tenacity made their retreat even more suspicious. But as his forces moved deeper into the colony, they found only more evidence of human technological inferiority. Primitive kinetic weapon emplacements lay abandoned, Simple electromagnetic barriers flickered weakly. Supply crates contained nothing more advanced than basic projectile ammunition. Forward units report similar findings across all sectors, his tactical coordinator announced. The humans appear to have exhausted their defensive capabilities. Their remaining forces are congregating in the colony's central districts. First Singer of Victory's membrane eyes pulsed with satisfaction, yet a nagging doubt lingered. He noticed a strange shimmer in the air, barely perceptible, like heat waves rising from sun-baked ground. His biomechanical armor's sensors detected nothing unusual, so he dismissed it as an atmospheric anomaly. "Begin sweeping the industrial sector," he ordered. "Secure any human technology for analysis. The Council of Hierarchs will want to understand how such a primitive species gained their reputation." His warriors spread out through the streets, their crystalline weapons humming with contained energy. None of them noticed the microscopic machines now coating their armor, multiplying silently with each passing moment. The nanoswarms had been engineered specifically to appear invisible to Craxi sensors, exploiting their blind spot for technology they considered beneath them. "Most Exalted One," a forward scout transmitted suddenly, "we've found their command center. It appears they abandoned it in haste." First Singer of Victory moved swiftly through the colony's winding streets, his elite guard falling into formation around him. The human command facility looked pathetically vulnerable, its defenses powered down, its entrances unsealed. "Secure the facility," he ordered. "Download any tactical data they left behind. Perhaps we can learn why they chose such an ineffective defense strategy." As his warriors entered the building, the strange shimmer in the air intensified. First Singer of Victory's armor systems reported a minor power fluctuation. Nothing serious, but unusual for their advanced technology. He extended his sensory appendages again, and this time caught something else, a faint metallic taste that shouldn't have been present. "Engineering unit," he transmitted, "conduct a full spectrum analysis of the local atmosphere. Something feels." His command was cut short as his armor's power core suddenly fluctuated again, stronger this time. Around him, warriors reported similar issues. The crystalline weapons they carried began to lose their characteristic hum. Multiple system failures reported across all units, his tactical coordinator transmitted, their thoughts tinged with the first hints of concern. "Our armor's power distribution is becoming erratic." First Singer of Victory raised his primary appendage to order an immediate withdrawal, but the command never came. His neural interface with the armor stuttered, then went silent. The crystalline plates that had protected his species through countless battles began to cloud over, their perfect clarity compromised by something too small to see. In that moment, as his warriors' weapons and armor began failing around him, First Singer of Victory finally understood. The humans hadn't retreated in fear or weakness. They had been positioning themselves for something else entirely. The last thing he saw before his armor's visual systems failed completely was that same shimmer in the air, now visible everywhere around them. And in the distance, he heard something that sent a shiver through all four of his hearts. The sound of human soldiers emerging from hiding. In the shadowy confines of Bunker Delta 7, Sergeant Mike Torres watched through his quantum-linked display as the Craxi forces began to falter. Their once pristine crystalline armor now looked clouded and dull, the biomechanical components within struggling against an invisible enemy. "All strike teams. Execute Phase 3. Lieutenant Chen's voice crackled through his comm. "Remember your training. Those EMP-hardened weapons are the only thing standing between us and their remaining functional tech." Torres raised his hand, signaling his squad. They had spent countless hours practicing with the deliberately antiquated-looking weapons, railguns with mechanical triggers, chemically propelled grenades, and kinetic penetrators that looked like they belonged in a museum. Every piece was specifically designed to work without sophisticated electronics, immune to the electromagnetic chaos their nanoswarms were about to unleash. "Movement team, go," he ordered. His point squad emerged from concealed maintenance tunnels, their boots silent on the colony streets. Through his display, he could see other human units doing the same across New Eden. Rising from hiding places, the Kraxai had arrogantly dismissed as primitive shelter points. The alien warriors were in disarray. Their neural interfaces had gone dark, cutting them off from their command structure. The biomechanical components of their armor, usually providing enhanced strength and reflexes, now worked against them, becoming dead weight as the nanoswarms disrupted their power systems. First target acquired, his spotter whispered. Through the scope of his railgun, Torres saw a Kraxai elite guard struggling with its malfunctioning armor. The alien's movements were sluggish, its crystalline plating now as cloudy as frosted glass. Execute, Torres commanded. His squad opened fire in perfect synchronization. The railgun's reports echoed through the streets, their mechanically accelerated projectiles punching through the compromised alien armor. The Kraxai warrior fell, its once invincible protection, now little more than expensive decoration. Multiple contacts, North Quadrant, his point man reported. They're trying to establish a defensive line, but their weapons are failing. They're falling back on physical combat protocols. Torres smiled grimly. The Kraxai were legendary warriors, but they had grown too dependent on their advanced technology. Without their neural links and power-assisted movements, they were fighting blind and clumsy in armor that now hindered more than helped. Lieutenant Chen, this is Torres, he reported. Delta 7 is engaging. Enemy forces are responding exactly as predicted. Their combat efficiency is down by at least 80%. Confirmed, Sergeant, Chen replied. All units report similar results. Push them back toward the landing zones. Don't let them regroup. Torres led his squad forward, their EMP-hardened weapons cutting through the Kraxai's compromised defenses. The aliens attempted to rally, but without their battle link coordination, they couldn't mount an effective resistance. Each warrior fought alone, cut off from the hive mind tactics they relied upon. Contact, his point man shouted. A massive Kraxai commander emerged from behind a disabled transport, its armor sparking with failing power systems. The alien was massive even without its mechanical assistance, and it charged forward with primitive fury. Torres raised his railgun, squeezing the mechanical trigger. The projectile struck the commander's chest plate, shattering the clouded crystal. The alien stumbled but kept coming. His squad opened fire, their combined shots finally bringing down the massive warrior. All teams be advised. Lieutenant Chen's voice cut through the chaos. Enemy command structure is completely compromised. Their ships in orbit are reporting critical system failures. The nanoswarms have spread further than expected. Torres watched as more human units emerged from hiding, their antiquated-looking weapons proving devastatingly effective against the degraded Kraxai defenses. What had seemed like a retreat in weakness had become a masterfully executed trap. Push forward, he ordered his squad. The Kraxai are learning a hard lesson today. Sometimes the simplest weapons are the most effective. Across New Eden, the sound of mechanical weapons fire echoed through the streets, accompanied by the crystalline shattering of alien armor. Humanity's gambit had paid off, proving that sometimes appearing weak was the strongest strategy of all. First singer of victory stumbled through the streets of New Eden, his once magnificent armor now a prison of dead crystal and failing biomechanics. Around him, his warriors fought desperately against the human forces, but without their neural links and power assistance, they were like hatchlings trying to swim in hardened resin. Status report. He tried to command through the battle link, but only static answered. His forces were scattered, fighting individual battles across the colony with no coordination. The humans, by contrast, moved with practiced precision, their primitive weapons proving devastatingly effective against compromised Kraxai defenses. Through clouded visual sensors, he watched one of his elite guard units attempt to hold a defensive position. Their crystalline weapons, normally capable of devastating energy discharge, sparked uselessly in their hands. Human soldiers emerged from multiple angles, their simple projectile weapons punching through the weakened alien armor with horrifying effectiveness. Most Exalted One, His second-in-command approached on foot, the warrior's armor as compromised as his own. Our forces are reporting massive failures across all sectors. The humans. They knew. They planned this from the beginning. An explosion rocked the street as a human squad detonated what appeared to be simple chemical explosives. The blast shattered the crystalline armor of 3 Craxay warriors, their forms crumpling under what should have been primitive, ineffective weapons. "Fall back to the landing zones," First Singer of Victory ordered, using verbal commands for the first time in his military career. "We must regroup and—" His words were cut short as a human railgun round pierced the street near his feet. Looking up, he saw dozens of soldiers emerging from concealed positions, their weapons trained on his position. At their head stood a human female, her armor notably different from the others. "First Singer of Victory," Lieutenant Chen called out, her voice translated by a simple mechanical device. "Your forces are surrounded, your technology compromised, and your orbital support is being systematically disabled by our nanoswarms. Surrender your remaining troops." The Craxay commander drew himself up to his full height, his primary appendages trembling with rage and humiliation. "You deceived us," he accused. "Made your forces appear weak, primitive. This was a dishonorable tactic." Chen approached, her weapon steady. "We studied your species for months. Your victories, your tactics, your absolute belief in your technological superiority. That arrogance became your weakness. You've never considered that our primitive technology might be exactly what we needed to defeat you." Around them, more human soldiers appeared. First Singer of Victory watched as his warriors were systematically disarmed and contained. Without their neural links and power assistance, they couldn't even coordinate an effective resistance. "Your nanomachines," he said, finally understanding. "They were designed specifically to target our technology. The retreat, the abandoned defenses, all of it was to draw us in. A species that relies too heavily on advanced technology," Chen replied, "becomes vulnerable to simple solutions. Your armor is impressive, your weapons devastating, but take them away." She gestured at the disabled Craxay forces. "And you're fighting blind." First Singer of Victory's membrane eyes pulsed with defeat. His species had never experienced such a complete reversal in battle. They had walked into the humans' trap believing themselves invincible, only to be undone by technology they had considered beneath their notice. "The Council of Hierarchs will never accept this defeat," he warned. Chen's expression hardened. "They'll have to. Because right now, your entire invasion fleet is experiencing the same systems failures you are. The nanoswarms spread faster than we anticipated. They're probably reaching your home systems as we speak." The Craxay commander felt his heart grow cold. Not just a tactical defeat then, but a strategic catastrophe. His species' greatest strength had become their greatest vulnerability, and the humans had exploited it perfectly. "Now," Chen continued, her weapon unwavering, "shall we discuss the terms of your surrender? Or would you prefer to continue fighting with what little technology you have left?" First Singer of Victory looked at his disabled warriors, their proud armor now nothing more than ornate crystal shells, and made the first surrender declaration in Craxay military history. In the colony's restored command center, Dr. Emily Wong monitored the cascading failure of Craxay communication systems with a mixture of satisfaction and awe. The holographic displays showed their quantum networks collapsing one by one, each failure triggering a chain reaction through their linked systems. "The nanoswarms have exceeded all projections," she reported to Lieutenant Chen, who stood watching the tactical display. "They're not just disrupting local communications, they're replicating through their entire network. Every crystalline transmission node they use is becoming a vector for further spread." Chen nodded, her expression grim but satisfied. "Show me their fleet status." The hologram shifted, displaying the Craxay ships in orbit. Their once pristine crystalline hulls were visibly clouding, the nanomachines multiplying across their surfaces like frost on glass. Emergency beacons flashed as ship after ship lost power, their crews trapped inside failing systems. "Lieutenant, Marcus Rodriguez called from his station. "We're picking up scattered transmissions from their command ship. They're trying to warn their home systems, but," he smiled, "they're only spreading the nanoswarms faster through their own communication networks." Chen walked to the central platform, studying the larger strategic picture. "How far has the contamination spread?" Dr. Wong manipulated her controls, expanding the display to show nearby star systems. Red warning indicators bloomed across the map, marking affected Crack-C installations and fleet positions. The swarms are moving through their quantum communication network at faster than light speeds. Every attempt they make to coordinate a response only accelerates the spread. Their entire command structure is collapsing, Rodriguez added. Without their neural interfaces and quantum links, they can't maintain fleet cohesion. Individual ship commanders are trying to act independently, but they've never had to. Chen finished. Their entire military doctrine is built around synchronized, linked combat. Take that away. The command center fell silent as they watched the Crack-C invasion force disintegrate. Ships tried to jump to faster-than-light travel, only to find their crystalline drives compromised. Others attempted to establish conventional communications, but the nanoswarms had thoroughly infected their systems. "New transmission," Rodriguez announced suddenly. "It's from their flagship. Text only. Looks like they had to jury-rig a basic radio system." Chen nodded. "Put it through." The message was brief, transmitted in simple binary code. "Request immediate cessation of nanomachine attack. Prepared to discuss terms." "They're desperate," Dr. Wong observed. "Their entire technological base is being systematically disabled. Even if we stop the swarms now, it would take them years to decontaminate their systems." Chen typed out a response. "Unconditional surrender of all forces in this sector. Immediate withdrawal from human space. Agreement to reparations for attacked colonies." The wait for a response seemed eternal. On the tactical display, more Crack-C ships went dark, their systems compromised beyond recovery. Finally, the simple radio signal returned. "Accepted." The command center erupted in cheers, but Chen raised her hand for silence. "Dr. Wong, what's the status of their remaining quantum networks?" The physicist checked her readings. "Almost completely degraded. They're going to have to rebuild their entire communication infrastructure from scratch. The nanoswarms have thoroughly infected every crystalline component they use." "Good," Chen replied, "because I don't trust them to keep their word. This way, they won't have a choice. Their mighty empire is about to experience what it's like to fight with one arm tied behind their back." She turned to Rodriguez. "Get me a channel to Fleet Command. They need to know that the Crack-C threat isn't just contained, it's been neutralized. Their technological superiority was their greatest strength, and now it's become their greatest weakness." As her officers carried out their orders, Chen watched the tactical display show more Crack-C ships going dark. Their seemingly invincible enemy had been undone not by superior firepower or advanced technology, but by their own arrogance and humanity's willingness to appear weak when they were actually at their strongest. The Crack-C would recover eventually, but they would never again underestimate the humans who had turned their greatest strength into their ultimate vulnerability. On the bridge of the Crack-C flagship, First Singer of Victory watched helplessly as his mighty fleet drifted powerless in orbit around New Eden. The crystalline viewports, once perfectly transparent, had clouded to near opacity, forcing his crew to rely on primitive external cameras hastily attached to the hull. "Emergence detected," one of his sensor operators called out, using verbal communication that felt alien after generations of neural link dependency. Multiple signatures, human warships. Rising from concealed hangars beneath New Eden's surface, the real human fleet revealed itself. Their ships were neither primitive nor outdated, but gleaming examples of human military technology. Unlike the Crack-C vessels, they showed no signs of nanoswarm contamination. "Clever," First Singer of Victory muttered. "They never evacuated their fleet. They hid it underground, waiting for this moment." The human vessels took up attack positions around the disabled Craxi fleet. Their weapons remained powered down, a courtesy that somehow felt more insulting than open hostility. They didn't need to fire a single shot. The battle had been won long before the first human ship broke atmosphere. Message from the surface, his communications officer announced. The human commander requests your presence for formal surrender proceedings. In his private quarters, preparing for the most humiliating moment in Craxi military history, First Singer of Victory studied his reflection in a clouded crystal panel. His ceremonial armor, now little more than decorative shell, stood as a testament to his species' folly. The shuttle ride to the surface was conducted in human vessels. His own shuttles were as compromised as the rest of the fleet. As they descended, he saw the true extent of the humans' deception. Hidden launch bays were opening across the colony's surface, revealing squadrons of fighters and support craft. The abandoned industrial sectors buzzed with military activity that had been carefully concealed during the initial invasion. Lieutenant Chen met him at the landing pad, her posture reflecting neither triumph nor contempt. "Your fleet has been contained," she stated simply. "The nanoswarms have spread through your quantum networks to every major Craxi military installation in this sector. Your Council of Hierarchs is currently experiencing similar technological failures across your core systems. You destroyed generations of technological advancement." First Singer of Victory responded, his translator struggling with the complexity of his emotion. "No," Chen corrected. "We showed you its weakness. Your empire became so dependent on crystalline technology and neural interfaces that you forgot how to fight without them. That's not destruction. It's a lesson." She led him to a conference room where other human officers waited. Through the windows, he could see his mighty fleet hanging powerless above the colony, surrounded by human ships that had remained hidden until victory was assured. "The terms are non-negotiable," Chen continued. "Complete withdrawal from human space, full reparations for damaged colonies, and most importantly, a recognition that humanity cannot be judged by appearances alone." First Singer of Victory's membrane eyes pulsed with resigned acknowledgement. "You could have fought us directly," he noted. "Your ships, your technology, they're far more advanced than what you initially showed us." "We could have," Chen agreed, "but then we'd have just another arms race, another escalation of technology. Instead, we chose to demonstrate something more important: the danger of believing that advanced technology alone equals military superiority." As he signed the surrender documents with a primitive ink pen, his neural interfaces still offline, First Singer of Victory realized that humanity had done more than defeat the Craxi. They had fundamentally changed the way warfare would be conducted across known space. The mighty Craxi Empire, which had conquered 12 star systems through technological superiority, had been humbled not by a stronger force, but by a cleverer one. As his trembling appendage completed the final signature, First Singer of Victory understood that this defeat would echo through their history forever, a testament to the danger of underestimating a species willing to appear weak when they were actually at their strongest. 6 months after the Battle of New Eden, representatives from 17 spacefaring species gathered in the newly constructed Galactic Assembly on Earth. The chamber buzzed with nervous energy as delegates discussed the shocking transformation of interstellar politics following the Craxi defeat. Ambassador Chen, formerly Lieutenant Chen, stood at the podium, her military uniform replaced by diplomatic attire. The victory that had started as her tactical gambit had reshaped humanity's position in the galaxy. Around her, alien representatives watched with a mixture of respect and unease. "The Craxi Empire's reconstruction efforts continue," she reported. "Their military forces have adapted to operate without neural interfaces, and their ships now use alternative technologies to crystalline systems. However, their ability to project power beyond their core systems remains limited." The Vixthar delegate, an entity of pure energy contained within a mechanical shell, pulsed with curiosity. "And the nanoswarms? Have they been fully contained?" "The swarms were programmed to become inert after completing their mission," Chen explained. But their impact remains. The Kraxai aren't just rebuilding their technology. They're rebuilding their entire military doctrine. Footage played on the chamber's main display, showing Kraxai warriors training with simplified weapons, learning to fight without the neural links they had relied upon for generations. Their once pristine crystalline armor had been replaced by conventional materials, less advanced, but also less vulnerable to technological disruption. But today's assembly isn't about the Kraxai, Chen continued. It's about the lesson their defeat taught us all. Military strength isn't just about having the most advanced technology or the largest fleet. It's about understanding when to appear weak and when to reveal your true capabilities. The chamber fell silent as images from the battle appeared on screen. Human soldiers emerging from hidden bunkers, ships rising from concealed hangars. The mighty Kraxai fleet rendered helpless by microscopic machines they had considered beneath their notice. Humanity extends an open hand to all peaceful species, Chen declared. We've proven we can defend ourselves, but we prefer cooperation to conflict. The defense treaties we're proposing today aren't about creating a military alliance. They're about ensuring that no species makes the mistake of believing technology alone guarantees victory. The Meridian representative, a crystalline being not unlike the Kraxai in appearance, raised an appendage. Your species deliberately appeared vulnerable to draw in an aggressive force, then systematically dismantled their military capability. How can any of us trust that you won't do the same to us? Chen smiled diplomatically. Because we're showing you our true strength now, not hiding it. The Kraxai were defeated not because they were powerful, but because they were arrogant. They assumed that any species using seemingly primitive technology must be inferior. She gestured to the assembled delegates. Look around this chamber. Some of you use technology far more advanced than ours. Others rely on abilities we can barely comprehend. But none of you made the mistake of judging humanity solely by what we chose to show during the Kraxai invasion. The assembly murmured in agreement. The victory at New Eden had done more than defeat an aggressive empire. It had fundamentally changed how species evaluated each other's capabilities. The treaties before you today, Chen concluded, are about more than military cooperation or trade agreements. They're a commitment to understanding that true strength comes in many forms, and that appearances can be deceiving. As the delegates began their formal discussions, Chen watched the Kraxai representative, once first singer of victory, now simply speaker of peace, address the assembly. His species had learned a costly but valuable lesson about the danger of underestimating others. The Battle of New Eden had lasted less than a day, but its impact would be felt for generations. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not through overwhelming force or technological superiority, but through the wisdom to appear weak when they were strong, and the courage to reveal their strength only when necessary. In the end, the greatest victory wasn't the defeat of the Kraxai Empire. It was the understanding that true power lies not in the weapons you possess, but in knowing when and how to use them.